Hey, friend, welcome back. Today we're chatting with Glenn Richardson. Glenn W. Richardson II is the founder and CEO of Rhodium Talent Advisors. Glenn helps business leaders and hiring managers to shape their dream team through customized recruiting, HR consulting, and training services to help you build a positive and high-performing workplace culture. Now, this gives them a lot of insight into the hiring process, which is why we have him on board today. Now, Glenn is also a dual certified HR professional. He's got a master's in business administration from Baylor University. And Glenn's areas of expertise are in leadership, workplace culture, talent acquisition, and training and development. When Glenn is not busy interviewing amazing candidates, he's not busy consulting or training, you can find him either cooking, eating, or spending time with his wife and his 3 children. In today's episode, we cover so much information. We go from, what are the types of messages that really resonate with recruiters and when it's probably not the best time to message a recruiter. We also talk about how to make yourself stand out in a positive way and how to spend less time and get more in return, how to get more impact out of the time that you use. And he also shares a lot of recommendations to help you be more yourself to get a job that aligns with who you are. We do a couple of quick fire questions just to add some fun and help you to get to know Glenn. And all in all, he shares a lot of great insight. All right, let's get started right now. Hey, Glenn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's great to have you here with us and to start this conversation off on just basically what are some of those frustrating things with candidates, right? But before we get started, we want to know about you and about Rhodium Talent. So share a little bit with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So at Rhodium Talent Advisors, our mission is really simple. We help business leaders and hiring managers build dream teams. We do that primarily through recruiting, but we also do that through HR consulting and support, and also training courses as well, and then speaking at different events that we are invited to. I started Rhodium in 2020, so we're coming up on 3 years. Kind of crazy to start a business during COVID, especially one where your primary money maker is recruiting. And so that was a little bit tough, but I certainly learned a lot, would not trade that experience for the world, and look forward to being here for another 3, 6, 10 years or so, if not longer, hopefully longer.
Yeah, right. That's the goal. That's always the goal.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. So I'm glad that, you shared that so that, everybody listening knows, who we're having a chat with. It's really someone who is knee deep in recruitment, is always looking at candidates and how HR can be served better, how candidates can be served better, and really connecting the dots. And one of the things that you and I talked about that we thought we should really record this conversation was some messages that sometimes can hit a recruiter's inbox that can be quite frustrating and really are frustrating both from the candidate's perspective of why they're sending that email, but also from the recruiter's perspective and how do we fix that on both ends. And do you remember what that message was?
Yeah. And so we were talking about these very basic scripted messages that go to every recruiter. And it's not selling yourself. It is not talking about how you solve a problem or how you bring value to the table. And that's something that's really frustrating to recruiters because I get tons and tons of messages per day from good candidates, from candidates who are not qualified for jobs, people who've not even applied for jobs. And I know that they want to stand out. They have great intentions, but the message that they're sending does typically the exact opposite of that.
And you mentioned a couple of things in there. So I want to make sure that they really we shine a light on the things that you mentioned and that we don't skip right over them. One thing you said was that they're generic, right? A second thing you said was that some people haven't even applied yet.
Yeah.
That's a big one, right? And because I know the message is don't go to the job boards, network. And it's great,
Right.
but you still have to apply. And so just like in anything, when you want to make a good impression, you want to show you're prepared. You want to show you're interested. And that includes taking action, not just the enthusiasm on the front end, but the work on the back end.
Right.
So those are two big things. And then here's another one. I'm going to throw another one in here. I know we talked about this one too, is when someone says something like, I've applied for 100 jobs.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
tell us why that's not a good message.
that is that's one of the most frustrating things that I hear a lot. And what I tell people is that this is not sales. I know people from the sales background, they always say, if you want to close 10 deals or one deal, you need to reach out to 100 plus people. And they say sales is a numbers game. And people take that same mentality when it applies to applying for jobs. And they say it's a numbers game. However, I think that that's not true. If you're applying for 100 jobs in a day, you're not doing yourself due diligence. You're probably not qualified for all of those jobs. The number of candidates I see that are clearly not qualified for a job, and I don't mean they're missing a couple qualifications. I mean, they work in mortgage and they're applying for a job that's a sales engineering position and have no experience, and they're counting that as a job. Well, of course, you're not going to get that job because you didn't have the qualifications for that. I think if job seekers take the time to curate a list of jobs that they're really passionate about, you have to have some passion about that job so you can speak to that. You then need to tailor your resume to that job. Don't send out a generic resume to every single job. Tailor your resume to that job specifically so you're speaking directly to that hiring manager or to that recruiter. They can see the value that you have. Mm-hmm. So then from there, you're able to showcase your skills a lot better, and you're not wasting time applying to 100 jobs, but rather you're applying to 10 jobs and you're increasing your chances of getting a call back, increasing your chances to get to an interview. And again, it's very frustrating when people treat it as a numbers game. But also, I mean, I'm not just speaking from experience as a recruiter and a hiring manager, but also experience when I, at the time, was an employee and applying for jobs. There have been a handful of times where I've been looking for various jobs, wanting to move up, and I only applied to maybe 3, 4, 5 jobs max. Because the one thing that a recruiter knows is when you get on the phone, we can tell pretty quickly if you've read the job description. We can tell pretty quickly if you know what company we are, what we're calling about. And if your first question is, oh, can you tell me a little bit about the job or who are you with? It's really off-putting. And it's like, okay, look, we know you're applying to a lot of jobs and that's okay. But you should at least take some time to remember what jobs you're applying for. Take some time to remember that job description. So when they do call, when they do reach out, that you can speak directly to that to put yourself in the best possible position. But again, a lot of people don't do that because they're taking the sales theory of saying, hey, I'm just going to apply for 100 jobs and see what sticks. And then that really takes a toll on you mentally because you're like, I just can't get a job. I just can't find a job. Then you start to lose momentum and the job search becomes even more difficult. So that's why I say just find a set of jobs that you really like, apply for those, make sure you meet the qualifications or really close, and go small on that number, and then increase the chances of you getting that call back.
Oh, absolutely. There was so much there. Part of it to kind of park on for a second is the idea of applying to many jobs. And, if you're listening, you're like, I've heard this before. Yes. But are you implementing it? Like, this is the piece that I always, in the beginning of my career, I was like, oh, yeah, you only apply for one position at a time. But when it actually comes to crafting your resume and putting the applications in, there's so much temptation everywhere. I mean, oh, this job looks cool. This job looks cool, right? Like I'm multi-passionate, right? That would be me. I'm multi-passionate. I can do, and that is a beautiful thing. But what I found out is that if I am multi-passionate, what I need to do is craft a resume for each of the multi-passions that I have. And when I start doing that amount of work, that's when I realized, oh, ain't nobody got time for that. Like, I need to focus on one, right? So for me, that exercise of tailoring a resume to each individual position and realizing how much work it was helped me to understand how much work goes into the recruitment side and why they want someone who's targeted, right? And you mentioned having a few different positions that meet your qualifications. And usually when I help someone to create a strategy and a resume and all that, we're like, let's focus on one. That's your primary. And your second and third are kind of like, adjacent. It can't be like let me create a resume for an engineering position. And then I'm also going to submit it for this art position over here.
Right. Exactly.
Because I think it's so important that people know, that all of us know really, you can go from engineering into sales. You can go from, maybe not the other way around. I mean, it depends, right? But you can make a lot of big pivots, but you have to tailor your resume. Like a lot of what I do is translating. I know it's still English, but it's definitely translating.
Yes.
Right? The skill sets from one industry, from the education industry into a corporate setting, and how is this going to apply? And, there was an example. What was that example? Oh, in education, the outcomes that resonate with hiring committees is student success outcomes, graduation, retention. But if you send that exact same resume to someone in, the corporate world and sales, right, in a financial industry, none of that means anything.
Yeah, they're not looking. It doesn't mean anything. And I myself, and I know a lot of recruiters that are certainly open to people in other industries. We know that you have to start somewhere. We know you got to get your foot in the door if you're making that transition. The thing is, as you said, you have to tailor your resume to that job. You need to talk about the skills you have and say, here's how it relates to this job. Although you may not have held a sales engineer position, or you may be coming from teaching and moving into sales, or teaching and moving into consulting, talk about the skills and how it resonates. But as you said, you can't use the same exact resume as when you apply for a teaching job to apply for a job that's not teaching. Their recruiter's going to look at it. They're going to look at it for maybe 10 to 20 seconds, and then they're on to the next person. And they're not coming back around. They're not going to give you a chance. However, if they see that you've taken the time to try to craft the message and translate, to use your words, translate your skills into theirs, or how it applies to them, then they're more likely to reach out. Maybe even if you're not a top candidate for the job, they could be working on other jobs, and they will still reach out to you to get an understanding of what are your skills, what are your abilities, and how can I help you find a role. But again, it really comes down to what's the message that you are crafting in your resume and in your outreach to let them know you actually have transferable skills. So it really goes back to that communication piece. And I mean, I know recruiters, they get a hard time, they have a bad rap. And I mean, some of it, we have a bad rap for a good reason. The recruiters are not like the greatest communicators, especially people say, I applied for a job and I never heard back. I think there's no excuse for recruiters not reaching back out to candidates. However, it is tasking. It is something that I found myself doing at one point in time, and I said, no, I have to stop this. I would get so many applications for certain jobs, especially if those jobs are top dollar. I believe in salary transparency. So any hiring manager I'm working with, I tell them, hey, we're posting the salary. Like, this is not really up for negotiation. We're posting the salary on the job. So if that salary is six figures, oh man, the number of people that apply and are not qualified are so high. I mean, hundreds upon hundreds of applications. It's also costing that recruiter or that hiring manager every time someone applies. So their costs are going up. So they're trying to move very quickly to find the right candidates and get those people in the process. And then they forget to reach out, or maybe they don't reach out because it's so many people. Then they find themselves in the same position as the job seekers. We're sending these scripted canned messages that don't resonate, that don't show some appreciation for the effort and time that you put in to apply to this job. But there's some issues on both sides of the table here, certainly. But it just starts with like, craft a really good message to get their attention, and you will stand out no matter how many applications or how many people have applied. And I mean, again, there's going to be the right recruiter that comes around that gives you a chance if you can show that passion and that you've made an attempt.
Absolutely. And I like how you, there's, when you go on social media or on LinkedIn, any platform, right, you see the throwing rocks at the enemies. You know what I'm talking about? Like in the marketing, like, oh, these recruiters and these men, and I feel like, there's people on both ends, and both candidate and recruiter have been known to send some generic stuff before. And so let's have some grace for each other, right? And let's come to the table and have this conversation. And so it's really interesting to hear the other side. And I think it's important to hear the other side so that as a candidate, you can understand like full circle and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Yes, there's going to be the person who doesn't message me back. And I'm going to be at some point the person like I was to set a generic resume, right? Like we're all going to do these things, but how do we kind of meet in the middle so that the right recruiter will meet us in the middle as well? So I
Right.
think that was really good.
And one of the things I would say is that, about people reaching out. So one, apply first, apply for the job. I reaching out to the recruiter, I'm kind of 50-50 on, and here's why. So I'm currently recruiting for a position, and I'm getting a ton, and I mean a ton of unqualified candidates. So their application automatically goes in a not qualified bin. However, most recruiters don't do this, but I will still review those applications in case there's someone who says, I have 3 years of experience and maybe I'm looking for 4. Okay, we're 1 year off. I'll take a look at your application. But I would say don't necessarily send that message if you're putting in, if I want 4 years and you're putting in 2 years of experience, maybe don't send that message. Again, make sure that you have the qualifications for the job, because then it kind of puts the recruiter in a weird position because they don't want to like respond and be like, oh, great, thanks. And then a couple of days later, you get a rejection message. So they feel a little bit awkward doing so. But also, I mean, kind of one of the things that we touched on is if it's on LinkedIn, take some time to look at that recruiter's profile, find something unique about them and mention it. Maybe mention, where they went to school or something on their profile or something within the job description, instead of saying, hey, I applied for this job. I have 10 years of experience and I'd love to talk to you. Well, everybody's sending the recruiter that message and they're probably not responding because they have so many applications to go through. So again, it comes back down to like, just craft your message and be passionate. Also, I would say just show who you are. Be yourself. There are a lot of people who are going to have skills and qualifications for a job. They may have more skills and qualifications than you do. But when you have the opportunity to speak to a recruiter, whether it's over the phone or you're interviewing with a hiring manager, bring your real self to that job. Bring your real self to that phone screen. Show up and don't be afraid of who you are and what your background is. And I think people will appreciate the genuineness about you. And also just know that if they don't choose you, that's not necessarily a no forever. It may not be something against you. I mean, there seriously could just be a more qualified candidate, but that gives you an opportunity to continue to find that yes and find something that really, really aligns. And there's a million things we could talk about. And as I'm thinking about this, it's like you kind of start to think about culture and where do I fit? I want to find a job I'm passionate and excited about. But if you're not the real you, and you put on this fake face, you put on this interview face, you go to this company, you interview, they love you, and then they bring you on and you're like, I hate this job. I don't like this place. You probably could have found out that there was not an alignment if you were the real you and you were also kind of looking for the real them and asking the right questions. But, we could go in 1,000,001 different directions on this conversation.
Oh, absolutely. And I know when we talked, we were like, this is probably going to be multiple episodes. It's probably going to be multiple episodes. So I'm already thinking and jotting some mental notes down as to that episode. So stay tuned. We will be back with more. But to kind of stay on this subject of like the, reaching out to a recruiter, there's so many, career coaches out there that are like, I'm going to give you 3 templates to reach out to a recruiter. Right. And so now it's like the thing, like everybody has a XYZ message or this template or that template. Right. And templates are extremely helpful. I even have some templates too, but my biggest thing is this is an example. This is a template as an example. This is not a copy, paste, hit send. This is like get an idea of like what type of relationship you're building. Cause I think this is where folks get stuck is because I feel like everyone thinks that networking is so opportunistic, and because we're stuck in that mindset, then it becomes awkward. Like that's really what makes it awkward. And so then everyone's like, well, I don't know what to say. So then I pull on a template. And so to me, a template's very much like, get a feel for what type of relationship you're trying to build, and then craft something that is truly yours and unique. So from your experience as someone who has a lot of exposure to this exact situation, what are some things that you've seen that are done well?
So some things that I've seen that have been done well. So let me think, because there have been quite a few. What's the best one?
Yeah, some epic stories.
So I think the ones that have been done the best are individuals who have kind of told me who they were outside of the skills for the job. So when people, it doesn't happen as often as I would like it to, but I get 1,000,001 messages on LinkedIn all the time. Right now, there are probably like 5 or 6 messages waiting for me, and I checked it before we got on. But when someone reaches out and says, "Hey, Glenn, I recently graduated and I'm looking for a new opportunity to show my skills or add my value," I'm like, "Oh, what skills or value are you looking to add? How can I help you?" Versus when someone says, "Hey, I have 10 years of experience. I'd love to interview with you." You gave me a number, but you didn't tell me how you're helping me solve my problem, which is I need someone who is probably passionate about this job. Or when people are funny, I think people get really nervous to be funny or like to tell a joke. And I appreciate it. I have maybe a weird sense of humor, kind of a dry sense of humor a little bit. I'm a little bit of a nerd, but if someone is like funny about something, I really enjoy that. So I had someone actually, they did some really good research. I don't know how they did this, but I used to have 3 dogs, but I only have 1 dog now. My other 2 dogs passed away. And somehow they found out, I don't know how they did this. They found out that I had dogs and they started talking to me about dogs. Like they put that in there. And I was like, I appreciate that you took the time to do this and to craft something that was unique. And you talked about me, and I appreciated that. So now I'm more keen to kind of connect with you on this personal level and not just a work level. So really messages that are kind of, as we said, that are not scripted, that have this personal touch to it. Mention something that you see on my LinkedIn profile. Mention something that you see in the job description. But tell me about your values, your passion. Don't tell me how many years of work experience you have. Don't tell me about your skills. I can read that on your resume.
Yeah.
And we're going to read that. But again, people who just kind of, I was going to say put their heart on the line. But I mean, just kind of put themselves out there, and they are real humans. Like, hey, I just graduated and I probably don't have the experience for this, or I don't have X, but I think I can bring this to the table. I think I could do this to help grow the company. I'd love to talk to you about those things. So when they're focusing on how can they solve a problem, how can they move the company forward? Those things are really helpful. And those are the things that will set candidates apart. And again, tell me about your passions. If one of your passions is rock climbing, okay, tell me about that. Try to build that personal relationship with a recruiter, not just on the work side of things. So I think, again, those are probably the best outreaches. So I think email, LinkedIn are going to be really good. I wouldn't call your recruiter because the chances of them answering are very slim. They spend a lot of time on the phone or on Zoom or with their hiring managers. I know I do. But a good LinkedIn outreach or a good email is really good, something to follow up on. And also, going back to your resume, you can send it to them. So let's say you've applied for that job. Send it to them in your outreach and just let them know at the very end, hey, I've attached my resume for you to review. Because then you're not stuck in this pool of other candidates hoping I see your resume. So if you can get a really good message, one that talks about how you can solve a problem or your passion or something to build a personal relationship, and then you put your resume at the end, the chances of them looking at your resume skyrocket. Now, are they going to hire you? Maybe, maybe not. But at least you've got some eyes on your resume.
Oh, that is so good. So a couple of things that you mentioned that I thought were worthy of just continuing to have this conversation, right? There's something that you say, and then like something that someone else says, and you listen and you're like, ooh, that was good.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots of those moments. You saw me furiously writing. But one of them was that you were saying like, you're not necessarily trying to impress the recruiter. You're trying to connect with the recruiter. And I think we fall into this, and it's part of a mentality. I think it's a part of a mindset. And I can at least speak for myself that I've been in this mindset it's an entire mindset. It guides a lot of our behavior. So if I'm feeling like I need a job, then everything becomes a scarcity piece. And so
Yes.
now I'm scraping at the bucket. I'm super applying to any and every jobs that I'm not qualified for. I'm also trying hard to impress. But instead, right, if I look at it from a completely different mindset, not just in one action or in one part of the relationship, but just overall as who I am, saying, I've got skills. We each have 700 plus skills, right? To say, I've got skills, I have experience, I have values, and I have all these qualities that when you put all them together, it's like I am a key that opens an employer's lock. And it is that
Right.
perfect combination, right? And so if you go from it knowing your intrinsic value more than just the number of years of experience you have, you can then communicate and like truly connect with a person, like another human being, right? And then share that value, which I think is what a lot of us are missing in that employment process. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I agree 100% that you have to remember that you have value. Yes, you are looking for a job, but also remember that they're looking for the right candidate. So, show who you are, talk about the value that you are bringing. How can you solve a problem? If somebody is looking for an accountant, look at the job description and try to understand why exactly are you looking for an accountant? What problem are you trying to solve? How can you help solve that problem? Tell me about your values. What are you passionate about? So for me, one of the things that if I was interviewing, I would always tell them I am passionate about my team. I will always have their back no matter what. So from there, my managers know there's not a, hey, it's us versus the lower level people. No, absolutely not, because I am with my people, and I'm going to protect them and do everything I can to help them. There's some people that don't really love that, and that's okay because then I know that I don't want to work for you or work with you. So that's something that I will say or put forward. If I was applying for a job, that's something I would put on a resume that, hey, I am actually what I would put now. Let's say I'm applying for jobs. If I was applying for an HR director, I would say what I said at the beginning. I help people, or hiring managers and business leaders, build dream teams. Not I've helped hire thousands of people. I've worked with XYZ companies. I wouldn't give them a list. I would give them something else, like I help build dream teams. Something that you can connect to, again, as you said, on a human level. Your recruiter is human. The hiring manager is human. Sometimes they may not act like it. Sometimes I know they act like robots. So I coach them on how not to act like a robot. But connect with them on that human level and just take time. I guess I would say, actually, even before writing your resume, know what your boundaries are. Know what you want beyond salary. Salary is great. Every job is going to pay you green money. But outside of that, what do you want? That's what you have to look for. Then ask yourself, who are you? Are you a driven person? Are you a motivated person? What makes you driven? What makes you motivated? Start calling those things out, because that's your value add. Put that on your resume. Communicate that in your messages. And again, don't give me a list of skills and years, but tell me your value and what do you want in a job just beyond the salary. Because I think that's another trap people get stuck in. I need a job. I want one that pays a lot of money. Again, all jobs are going to pay you money. You'll find one to do that. But where do you best fit? But to understand where you fit, you have to first understand who you are. And sometimes that takes a lot of searching and digging. And I think, if somebody's like, I don't know who I am, well, they should probably call you. And then after they work with you to get their resume fixed and they know who they are, then they can call me and I can help them find a really good position. But again, it starts really first off, I guess I'd say dial it all the way back, spend time understanding who you are, what drives you, what motivates you, what excites you. For me, I know that what excites me is helping people learn new things. I absolutely love it. My biggest passion, and I kind of recently discovered this, is talking about leadership. When I recruit, I love recruiting for leadership positions because I know how important they are. there's just something that lights up inside of me when I get the opportunity to talk about leadership or talk about recruiting or HR or culture. And I'm like, this is what I need to do. This is who I am. And then I communicate that value. Like, guys, I'm really passionate about leadership because it drives an entire company. It's going to keep people at your company or it's going to drive them away. And then people's eyes start to open because they're like, you're solving a problem that I have. People keep leaving me or I can't get people. So then it goes right back to what problem are you solving? So to kind of put it all in perspective, one, take time to know what you want in that job besides money. Two, make sure you understand and know who you are. What are you passionate about? What wakes you up in the morning? What are your drivers, your motivations? That could be, if you have a spouse or if you have a family, or if you just want to climb the corporate ladder, that's okay. But know those things about yourself. Once you know those things, identify the problem. They're hiring a person for a reason. The company wants to move in some direction. Identify that problem. Talk about how you can then solve that problem. And also, do some research about the company that you can probably speak directly to their mission, their vision, their values. So I would kind of give it in that order. Use all of those things to then craft your message to the recruiter. And I think the chances of them reaching back out to you, even if they don't select you for the job, are going to be so much higher.
Wow.
And, they'll probably remember you. So let's say, again, a lot of recruiters are working on a lot of jobs, and I mean a lot of them. So you may not be qualified for that job, or let's say you get an interview and they don't hire you. That recruiter will remember you and they're going to call you, hey, I have this other job open. Do you want to interview for it? Hey, I think you'd be a really good fit for this position. So then you've built an actual relationship. It's not just transactional. You build a relationship where then they're really invested in who you are because they know and understand what your drivers and motivators and passions are. And they know the problem you can solve. Most people, again, they don't solve a problem. They just give you a list of stuff. And I'm like, great, I'm going to compare you to everyone else.
Yeah.
But tell me the problems you can solve, and then I can help you find the right landing spot.
And this, you pulled out such a great note here that when you're creating your resume, yes, you're targeting it for a position, but you can't lose who you are in the middle of it. You can't target it so much that it's no longer you, because as long as it's you, then you, the recruiter, can say, oh, I see you, so I know where you might be a good fit.
Right, exactly.
I also really liked how you mentioned, there is a place for the numbers, and that is the resume, right? And then there's a place for, and I feel like the resume is the what. What did you do? Right? Impress me. And then there's a place for the connection and the value and the how, which is like building the dream team. That's cover letter. That's, conversations in your networking, in your interviews with your recruiter. And it's just knowing that there are different types of communications. So you can and should adjust your communication for each one. Okay. So you talked about, knowing the problem that you solve. And so when someone says, well, I'm coming from a different industry, right? Whatever industry it might be, and I'm trying to pivot. And so I've never solved this problem before. In your experience, with your insight, what do you think they can do to help explain how they have the potential to solve the problem in this new industry?
So I think that goes back to talking about their passions. Tell me what first led you to this field. Tell me where you came from and what things sparked your interest. What things kind of got your gears going again? What made you passionate about this? And then from there, with the passion, then they'll say, okay, now we can kind of understand kind of maybe where we need to coach or where we need to help you grow. Because again, if you're transitioning into a new industry, they know you probably can't solve that problem exactly. However, if you can come from that personal standpoint, telling me about your passions. There was a time where I was recruiting for a job that was working with kids. And sometimes I'm working with people who are coming from jobs that have no experience with kids. And I'm like, whoa, this is nuts. Have you ever worked with kids? Like, it is not what you see on TV. Well, sometimes it's crazy. Sometimes it's not. And I've worked with kids and I love it. And so I will ask them, what do you like about working with kids? Like, why were you interested in this job? One of the answers that I give very often is that they'll say, I love being in a position in which I can be a mentor to a child. Or for example, it's a swim instructor. They say, I swam, or I went to this swim school and I learned how to swim at this swim school. And I remember my instructor, they made a mark on me. I want to do that same thing. Mm-hmm. So it goes back to, what is that passion that drove you there? And that same passion in the recruiter's head, what they're doing is they're relating that passion to what's going to motivate you and drive you to solve the problem that they give you. So that's going to be your driver. They're going to want to know, are you coachable? Are you teachable? Do you actually want to be here? Because they're going to take a risk, because you could leave them in 6 months and then they got to do this all over again. But if you can show them, hey, I'm coachable, I actually have a real passion for this. I don't know everything. And it is. So actually, let me back up and pause there. It is okay to say that you don't know something. If a recruiter asks you a question and you don't know, don't lie to them. Don't try to dance around on the question. Just be straightforward with them. They're going to appreciate that. And it also helps them know and communicate with a hiring manager. Hey, they said that they're weak in this area, or they don't know this. Here are some things that you're going to need to work on. They don't want it to be a surprise. They can work with, I don't know. They can't work with you giving them an answer that's not 100% true, or you dancing around it, because then they lose that trust. So just be open, admit what you don't know. And then you can say, hey, I don't quite have that skill, or I don't quite know this thing. What I do know is what I've done that relates to this is what drives me is. So I think those things will really help people who don't necessarily know what that problem is. Also, I would say if they have time, maybe try to reach out to people in that industry, connect with someone on LinkedIn and just talk to them about that job, or, maybe call the company before applying and just say, hey, I'm interested in applying, but I'd love to learn more about what you guys do. There's some organizations maybe have someone available who can give you some more insight and information, or, go to YouTube and see if you can find videos about their company. There's so many different resources. Try to gather as much information as possible on that problem. But again, if you can't solve it, don't say you can solve it, but understand what it is and how your passions and motivations can help you do that. Because what we find is that there are a lot of hard skills, but the people who have the hard skills are not the ones who are the most successful. Individuals with soft skills, individuals with passion are the ones who are most successful, even if they don't have background or experience or knowledge about a certain thing. The ones who are most passionate, the ones who have the soft skills, are typically the ones that are most successful. When I talk to hiring managers and I ask them, tell me about your best employee, they never tell me about, a skill. They're never like, they use Excel really well. They knew how to do this really well. They always say they were reliable, they were kind, they were respectful. I could count on them. I trusted them. Hiring managers and recruiters are looking for those things as well. It's hard to see that sometimes because we get blinded by these skills. But if you can show by the hard skills, if you can show your soft skills, especially if you're transitioning into that industry, that's what's going to make you successful. That's what's going to help you grow. So I would also say speak to your soft skills as well. And I hate that we call them soft skills, because I think some of those are hard skills, and we see a huge need for that. But yeah, those things I hopefully have not confused the listeners, because I gave a lot of different things there about how they could overcome not understanding what the problem is. But I really boil it down to, tell me about your passions. Tell me what drives you. Speak to those soft skills that you have, and how do your skills transfer into what they're currently doing. And if you're wrong, that's okay. And if you don't know, then say you don't know.
Yes. And this is part of my interview preparation, is making peace with the fact that you don't know everything. And
yes,
okay. Like, that's okay. Asking in an interview something like, can you explain that term to me? I may not be familiar with the terminology, but I think once I understand it, I may be able to give you an example, something that just shows that humility, that I'm okay not knowing everything.
Right.
Okay. So I could sit and talk with you all day. I feel like last time we had a conversation that was supposed to be like 15 minutes, half hour, and we were going on for 45 minutes.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, we could talk about everything for just days. Like maybe we should write a book or something.
Like part of me is like, this should be a series.
Yeah.
I already know if you're up for it, I'm up for it. I'd love to have
yeah,
you
absolutely.
back on. But before we go today, I think it's important that we get to know you on a slightly different level. So I'm going to quick fire some questions here.
Okay.
All right. There's
What you got?
no wrong answer. Okay. There's just a couple. I won't make this too hard. So let's get to know Glenn a little bit. Sweet or spicy?
Sweet. I do not like anything spicy. Sometimes pepper's too much. So very, very sweet.
Okay. All right. Sweet. All right. Virtual meetings, PJs or full attire?
Oh man, that's kind of embarrassing. Sometimes, most of the times, PJs. I have a picture up on my Facebook when I was in grad school for a end of year meeting, and I had on my suit top, and then I was in shorts on the bottom. So I'll be honest, most of the time, just shorts.
Welcome to the team. All right. Are you a water or soda person, or tea or coffee?
I should be more of a water person, but I am a huge tea and coffee person. I drink all kinds of teas all day long. I'm trying to wean off of the Bang and Celsius energy drinks. So anything with caffeine in it, I love it. My doctor says I should stop, but I haven't listened to him yet, and I'm still alive. So that's why I switched over to the tea a little bit more, but I should probably start drinking some more water.
That's awesome. Hey, this helps because I think sometimes we hear someone on a podcast or we hear someone on TV or a video or whatever, and we just think they live this perfect life. And you know what? We're all human. No. We are all going to have ourselves coffee. Okay. Almost done here. So what is your preferred method of communication? Phone, email, social media, or in person?
Oh, please email me. Do not call me. Please email me. I'm a millennial. The stereotype about us hating talking on the phone is true. So email me.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, this was so much fun. I'm so happy that you got a chance to hang out with us for a little bit and share such helpful insight for where a lot of us are in the process, which is looking for positions. So thank you again. Pleasure. But before we go, tell us just a little bit more about how we can reach you. If we, need your services, what you do, all the good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. As I said, I am active on LinkedIn. I am on all the time. So LinkedIn is a really good place. You could also go to my website, rhodiumtalent.com. But I will say that is actually changing. One of the things I'm very excited about is that we are transitioning the company to the Richardson Group to include a couple more pieces to help individuals who maybe are not looking to transfer jobs. But let's say you want to learn how to be a better leader because that next promotion is going to require you to be a leader. So we're working on creating some courses as well. So we're making some transitions in the business. But for now, if you go to rhodiumtalent.com, you can reach out to me there. I have my contact information there as well. Or you might find me at a local Starbucks or even maybe a barbecue place on the weekend.
There you go. So go hunt him down at that barbecue place. You'll get some good food out of it too. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So it sounds like something new is coming with the Richardson Group. And so, I already know we're going to be chatting again. And so on that next one, if everything's set up, we'll get your links up for the Richardson Group as well.
Perfect. Sounds good. And yeah, it's just been an absolute pleasure. I hope people have learned from this. And, if there's any questions, I always love specific questions that, we can tackle those, wrestle with those too. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure being here.
Awesome. So reach out to Glenn, reach out to us on LinkedIn. I'll put all the links in the description. And again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that you are here in this conversation. Know that we love you. We're praying for you. We'll see you on the next one.